Yo everybody, what's going on? This is Keegan from Kman Reviews. If you enjoyed this review, make sure to hit that like and the subscribe button, and if you have any opinions at all you would like to share, leave them down in the comment section. Quinn XCII, A Letter to My Younger Self. Quinn XCII, American singer, songwriter, present in the music scene for a while as he's been recording music since his sophomore year in university. Although he has only gained notoriety in the past 5 years with the release of his debut EP, Change of Scenery, in 2015. Since then, he's been working with plenty of big-name artists like John Bellion, Max, and even Logic on this very album I'm reviewing, his third, A Letter to My Younger Self. I've been aware of Quinn in the music scene for a while, and I have enjoyed what I've heard most of the time, but I've never fully sat down and listened to a project of his, so we're going to change that today. How good is this album? Let's find out as I review it track by track. We'll start off with the singles, with there being 4 of them. The first one being Stacy, which did take me a little bit of time to warm up to. It opens like a ballad, with this comforting piano melody and these soft falsetto vocals that grace the duration of the track, really adding a nice touch. Quinn's vocals are some of my personal favorite parts of his music. It has this indie pop vibe to it that just clicks with me. Slightly nasally, almost like an American version of Ollie Murs. Not the biggest fan of the drop here as well, that's just my personal opinion. However, drops just aren't my thing, period. But I do like these lyrics about this girl who's basically giving him this pleasure, consoling him, but she isn't his, so don't call her yours. Not a bad song overall, I like it. The second single, 210s, just feels a bit lackluster. And it mainly has to do with this instrumental. It doesn't suit Quinn's voice at all, it's pretty scant, and everything that isn't is just way too bassy. It doesn't complement his vocals at all. And speaking of his vocals, again, they're pretty solid. They possess good rhythm and have a fairly infectious melody, but the instrumental is just not up to par. Its weaknesses are overbearing. Thankfully, the lyrics are a decent recovery point, basically about pleasure from some girl, paying 210s, not wanting to go crazy. It does blend with the instrumental well, but the combination of all these elements is very scattered and inconsistent. Not for me. The third single, Coffee, featuring Mark E. Bassi, is a fairly decent single. It's not wowing me at all, really, but it's also not boring me to tears. Some parts of the instrumental are under way too much bass in my opinion, but the instrumental as a whole is better. The drum work is more engaging and the piano adds a good amount of life. Quinn's voice is still as solid as ever, and Mark handles the second verse, which definitely feels more at home here. It's a bit deeper than Quinn's, molding with the bass pretty effectively, but also his upper register sounds a little bit too close to A Boogie with the Hoodie. Lyrically, it's about a broken relationship and how he made 2 cups of coffee, but she's not here to drink the other one. Not a bad song, it's average. And the fourth and final single, the title track, A Letter to My Younger Self featuring Logic, is probably my favorite song on this album. This is the kind of pop music I can see Quinn getting behind. So bouncy, so perky, so fun, the clap percussion gives the track a nice groove, and Quinn's voice blends in so well. Now Logic, while he has been dropping a lot of garbage guest verses over the past year, this may be one of his best. It's very consistent, it doesn't ramble too much, and while the rhymes are fairly similar, the accuracy is very appreciated. Lyrically, it's pretty motivational, writing a letter to his younger self, hoping he'll read it when he needs help. Beautiful song, and not really a horrible singles run. Let's see how the rest of the album compares. Now for the rest of the tracks. The opener, Am I High Right Now, featuring Black Bear, which, wow, this track is such a slog to get through. Especially during the beginning. The pitched vocals, the dragging instrumental, the clicky synth and choired vocals. Quinn's really working some of his falsettos, and they clash so much. It's pretty tedious to sit through, and when the drums kick in for the second verse, we finally get some life in here, but it doesn't last for Black Bear's part, where he's rapping over the same nothing beat with very flat drum work. Lyrically, I suppose you can make a correlation with them seeing all these illusions and wondering if they're high right now, but in all honesty, I can't really stomach the song. Hard pass. Sleep While I Drive featuring Ash is definitely a better track in most aspects. For one, the instrumental is pretty calming. The light guitar picking adds a melancholic flavor to these optimistic synths, and the snappy percussion as well. Quinn's voice is very similar to the title track, lively, bouncy, and Ash handles the third verse. She has a very nasally delivery. I dare say a little bit too much, but thankfully it doesn't last for too long. One thing I'm not a fan of here is the chorus. Just the repeated lines don't really sit well with me. A bit underbaked during that part, and Quinn sounds like he'd rather be singing anything else, but I do like the lyrics, which the title does allude to. Even if they fight a lot and she's not having any of it, she can sleep while he drives. It's an okay song, and I think I'll take it. Second Time Around is a surprisingly early ballad in this album, coming in at only track 4. And I think it's pretty damn solid. The piano feels very emotional, and the background vocals at a whole other dynamic level, when the chorus comes around. It's strangely moving. And Quinn's vocals don't clash at all. They're very powerful and motivational. Nothing much else to say about the track aside from these beautiful lyrics about living a better life on his second time around. It's a wonderful song, and certainly worth a listen. Notice Me is a little bit of an oddball in this track list. The instrumental is fairly generic, the stale guitar picking doesn't add anything with a hollow percussion, and not to mention just how sad the chorus feels. It gives the track way too much of a depressing feeling than I think was necessary, and it really doesn't build up all that much throughout its duration. It doesn't feel like filler, yet it doesn't stand out in really any way in comparison. Lyrically, it's just basically an outcast anthem, wondering why people won't notice him. It's a dice roll. I could take it or leave it. More Than Friends opens up with yet another boring, moody instrumental with its murky ambiance and little poppy synths that add absolutely nothing. However, when that chorus kicks in with that punchy, groovy percussion and Quinn's fantastic melody, it continues throughout most of the track aside from the bridge, which just have this soaring atmospheric vibe to it. Quinn's voice sounds wonderful over the entire track, yet again possessing that alive quality that really makes his voice a standout in the scene. And lyrically, it's about how he missed the chance to be this girl's one and only, and how they would have been way more than friends. Good song. I like it. Mad at Me is yet another bizarre placement for a ballad, coming in third to last on the album. The deep, somber guitar picking here feels so much more impactful than on most of the other guitar playing on this album, and the string work in the background packs some of the strongest emotional weight on the record. Unfortunately, Quinn's voice is probably the most mediocre part of the song. Not even that it's bad, it's just that the instrumental is such an improvement over anything else. His voice kind of gets overshadowed. Lyrically, it's about how he isn't over the relationship, doing all these things they used to do, living these experiences as a solo man. It is a bit of a tough song to fully engulf yourself in, but I adore it nonetheless. Nice song. Meeting Strangers opens up with this Charlie XCX vibe with the distorted, shrill synths, but then it blossoms with this engaging, pounding drum work and the perky, bubbly synths. The chorus features this gapped section melody that is just earwormy as all hell. In fact, most of the melodies on this track are catchy when combined with the instrumental. And of course, regarding the la la la's, they are a bit annoying with Quinn delivering them in his standard high-pitched, nasally voice. But they aren't nightmarish to listen to, and speaking of the lyrics, they're about how he's sick of this relationship, needing space and time, and ends up resorting to meeting strangers. Good song, I like it. And finally, the closer Everything I Need really gives us a ballad in an appropriate spot, even though it's kinda not a ballad. It opens up like one with the light, almost happy piano, but then the chorus kicks in with the cheery claps and the percussion kicks in for the second verse, along with an electric guitar solo. There's a lot of elements here, but it really doesn't feel like a fitting closer sonically. In fact, that's one of my biggest issues with this album. The tracklist feels very scattered, like there was no real rhyme or reason as to why the tracks were put in this order. Anyway, lyrically, it's about having one last party before everyone goes away, which does work for a closer, but probably could have had a more powerful execution. Meh, I could take it or leave it. Overall, not gonna lie, I kinda expected to like this more. I thought this type of music would be right up my alley, but there were some real duds on here, and a really disorganized track list that puts all the care this album could have had out the window. Still, I did enjoy a good number of tracks here, and had an overall positive experience with this record. I'm feeling a 6.5 out of 10 on this album. Well guys, hope you enjoyed that review. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.